Hello, and welcome to the Be Smart About Art show. I am just pulling up the live stream right now. I'm Susan J. Mumford, and I'm here today to talk with you about why you should keep in touch with the art dealer who said no. Now, we're always working on upping the game on our show, and I've realized that the background has once again gone backwards. So it's interesting how much you learn when you're going through the process of live streaming on a regular basis and learning as you go. And I can also see that you can see some of the side of the screen, but that's cool. I don't really mind. So everyone, what I'm going to encourage you to do throughout today's session, I'm going to be taking you through 5 different points on this whole topic of starting new professional relationships. I'll be kicking off by reading you a story from the Be Smart About Art book, Art is Your Life, Make It Your Living. And I'm inviting you to ask questions of me. That's the reason why you can see me fiddling with the laptop right now so that I can pull up your comments. So ask your questions. If you have any of your personal experiences of starting new relationships, feel free to share as well. You can share basically with a kind of wider Be Smart About Art community. And I'll just add that myself, as somebody who's an entrepreneur in the art world who started as an art dealer, gallerist, and then laterally an advisor, that I know all too well the challenges of starting new professional relationships. Be Smart About Art has done a huge survey looking into how artists do end up working with galleries, which is informative for artists and galleries alike. And during this pandemic, we're in a different era. We are in a situation in which starting relationships will be different than they have been. However, the 5 principles of what I'm sharing with you today still remain true. So let's get started with that story, and then I invite your questions, and I'll be giving you some really, hopefully, I trust, useful insights. And these will all apply to any type of professional partnership that you're building. So maybe you're an artist wanting to work directly with an interior designer. It might be that you're a gallerist who currently has had to close your space and you're looking at working with more art consultants. There are different types of relationships that you might be looking to build right now than you ever have been. So think about the principles that we will cover. The piece is called Why an Artist Should Keep in Touch with the Art Dealer Who Said No. And this is a true story from myself. A few years ago, I was introduced to an artist who is the sister of a friend and collector. At a meeting in my Soho gallery, the artist and I viewed her portrait paintings and discussed the subjects and inspirations. The work wasn't a suitable fit for the gallery, so I thanked her for the visit and confirmed that we wouldn't proceed with representing her. Now, life running a gallery is busy. The work carried on, and I all but forgot about the portrait painter. Several years later, the friend told me about an upcoming exhibition by her sister. It turned out that the location was in my own neighborhood, and I RSVP'd straight away. My interest was a surprise to the artist, for she hadn't seen any point in staying in touch with myself. She didn't think that I would ever want to attend any shows, since I hadn't made an immediate offer of representation in that one meeting we had had in my gallery in Soho those years before. I initially thought to myself, what a shame. She doesn't get it. Now, many people think in black and white terms when it comes to building a network. Someone doesn't want to do business after a single meeting? Well, then surely they're of no use. Now, obviously, that's incorrect. One savvy artist calls the process of an artist and dealer getting to know one another a dance. That was actually Marcus McAllister who said that, who's one of our one-to-one advisors now. He's an artist based in Paris. Had the artist in this real-life story stayed in touch by putting me on her mailing list and reaching out from time to time, starting the dance, in other words, the story might have had a different ending. After all, I never told her to cease contact or to not add me to the mailing list. She'd taken it as a given. And there's more. A Be Smart About Art survey of dealers in the UK and USA found that one of the top 3 ways artists attain representation is by knowing a dealer, that was myself, who does not represent them, but that dealer tends to have a peer network and tends to make introductions. So someone in my network could have been the ideal gallerist for the painter, and I might have facilitated an introduction. And I will just emphasize that I really did think that her portraits were very good indeed. They just weren't right for my gallery. Therefore, it's worthwhile for artists to reach out to dealers in their network who are never going to be the right fit, to find out about dealers they know who could be the right fit for the artist's style, experience, and so forth. So think about it as perhaps you might know a gallery owner as an artist, and you say, let's have a coffee, let's have a tea. You can do this online right now. And you can say, hey, who could you recommend me to? It necessitates action on the part of artists, as well-intending dealer friends may never come up with that idea of making personal referrals or at least suggestions. From staying in touch with a dealer who said no to reaching out to people in your existing network, it's vital to continue building relationships as well as tap into your network's network. After all, what do you have to lose? And there are some principles in there that really do apply to any type of network that you're building. It could be that you are looking to build a relationship. I was previously mentioning interior designers. I'm just thinking about some others. I mean, actually, I know quite a few property projects have carried on, and I've been hearing from gallery owners to say that actually they're finding that some interior projects are really very much so a go at this point in time. And so it might be that you know an interior designer who's not the right fit, but you decide, they might have colleagues who would be the right interior designers who maybe do the kind of projects that would be suitable for you. So let's just start looking through the 5 takeaways that I want to give you today to broadly apply to your own life and circumstances. And as I said, these do very much so apply now with the pandemic and in the months and the years to come. So the first topic, and I thought I'd go old school with a whiteboard, whether the first point away is in advance of such a meeting, work out 3 things that you would like to achieve as a result. So let's just get that right up to the camera. What are 3 things that you can think about in advance of having that meeting that you would like as a result? Now, that's not to say that you'll actually attain everything. As I say here on the whiteboard, they may not all happen, okay? Now, I'll give you an example. We can look at this artist who I had a meeting with, and as I was saying, I really did like her portrait paintings. It wasn't the right fit for my gallery. One thing, maybe the top of her list would be representation by the gallery. Okay, so that is one potential outcome. Then a second potential outcome is that perhaps even if the gallery wasn't going to quote unquote represent her, it might be that the gallery would put her on their books for arranging portrait paintings. And now it just so happens that my gallery space did from time to time arrange portraits for some of our clients. And she could have very well gone in the book. So that could be a second aim. And I'm partially, when I say that, I'm thinking about how if her first aim wasn't met, so I said, we're not going to be able to represent you. Now, I think I can imagine some galleries would actually say, lovely to meet you, and then they email afterwards to give you the response. I decided to just go ahead and have the conversation then. So if you're face-to-face, you can say, listen, completely fine, I understand. I'm going to wait to get some other points on my list. And you could say something like, well, how about if you ever have any clients who might want portraits, consider me. Could I help you in any way with that? And what do you think? So that would be a really good prompt. A third aim could be to perhaps get the gallery onto your mailing list, knowing that representation and collaborations don't always happen immediately. Again, you want to prompt that. And in addition to mailing lists, thinking about getting each other actively in your networks, how about following each other on social media? You might already be following each other on social media. You might say, oh, I'm going to add you to this particular list on social media to help people find you. So it's the artist giving to the gallery. But what you're doing is in person, is you're very actively making steps towards achieving, say, 3 things, as I've suggested, or several of them at least, that you've put on your what you would love to achieve from this meeting. kind of list. So those are some ideas. We've got representation, we've got in the kind of portal of possibilities for portrait paintings and her situation. And thirdly, it's following each other on social media, because actually it does take time getting to know people before you really start working together in most cases. So let's look at the second point then. Okay, I love doing this old school, it's quite fun. So we've got embrace the notion that starting a new professional partnership is not black and white. It takes time. Okay, so that is our second point. And what that really is to say is that when I say in that article that I read you that she didn't get it, what she didn't understand, this artist, was that me saying no didn't mean saying no forever. It meant that it was not the right relationship right then. And that's completely fine. She might have been disappointed, surely. However, it's not to say that we couldn't have worked together down the road. So when you go into a meeting thinking, oh, I might want a piece of business, I might, let's even talk about when I was a gallery owner, I one time sat down with an interior designer and I did manage to have a fantastic coffee meeting with an interior designer. It didn't mean that we immediately had work to do, but I got her interested. So when she had a project come in, and I'm being asked to hold the board her, yes, and I've seen that. There's a slight delay on the video, actually, so I've just now seen about that. So in the initial meeting with the interior designer, when I was a gallerist, what was brilliant was that we struck a rapport, and then when she had a big project come in, she realized that it was too much for her to do as an interior designer. She actually needed an art specialist. So she brought me in, and we did some fantastic work together. And what that meant was I was actually able to really add a string to her bow, in the sense that she was able to have somebody who was an art specialist help some clients build an art collection over a kind of period of a year, and she was able to get income as well. So when we sat down for that meeting, I said, of course, whenever we work together, there are different ways that you can work. I appreciated that the interior designer might want to be invoicing the clients, and it might be that I didn't even exchange detail with the clients, or it could be that she introduced me to the clients directly, I invoiced the clients, and then paid her an introducer's commission. And we went for that latter option of I worked directly with clients. It was a trusting relationship. We had a clear agreement in place, and whenever they would do any business with me, she would get 10% of the proceeds, basically. Okay, so I'm going to try to hold this higher. Thank you very much for that input. I firstly have to see what it says, of course. So this is lovely. I love this one. It is saying, number 3, it's saying shift your perspective to thinking about what you can give. Okay, so that's shifting your perspective to thinking about what you can give. And now with this one, I really highlight this because I am personally intrigued more in a kind of human to human psychology way about what happened in that conversation. So she came in very much so thinking, ooh, I know that I would like to get something. I would like this gallery to represent me. That was what she had in mind. And how about instead changing that so that when you go to that meeting, you're thinking, what can I bring to the gallery? What can I provide to the gallery? What is some value that I can add to the gallery? So let's say when I had said that we wouldn't be working together in terms of a representational sense, again, that doesn't mean forever. But she might go, not a problem. I really love your program and I would really love to keep coming to the gallery. I'll bring my contacts. I'll spread the word about your business. I think what you're doing is awesome. You know, she could have brought something to that table, as it were. And that just wasn't the mindset that she had. And I've actually come across this mindset a lot in the art industry, and it ends up being a power play, and it's quite unfortunate that this happens a lot, and it takes you to do something actively about it. So let's take, for example, as well, something that I have seen a lot, which is and this is not meant to be offensive, it's only because I've seen it so much, and that is this almost desperation of many artists to get representation, to get into a gallery, this stuff. And the way that I actually see that is that there is a perceived power play. So the artist is actually seeing that this gallery is at this level up here where they're making decisions and saying yes or no artist. But actually the artist, really, I want them to see themselves as being on an equal playing ground, because this is a partnership. This is something that you do together, that you work together on. And if you therefore see yourself as going into that meeting, as you are potentially bringing that gallery a whole new selection of offerings, of opportunities, of even a type of commission that they could offer to their collectors, of somebody who could engage their audience, provide content for their digital marketing. I mean, there's so much that an artist can bring to the table. So I really encourage artists to be working on their mindset. I'm sure that galleries who are watching this video, either now or in the future, will appreciate exactly what I'm saying, because you would rather, the gallerist would rather have somebody who is a colleague in the business you can work together. And I must say that during the pandemic, we are seeing this play out in a way that is just, this perspective is more important than we have ever known. I really mean that. And the reason for that is, let's take, for example, the reality that many gallerists don't have access to their normal stock. Gallerists and artists are needing to work together so that perhaps the galleries are helping to get works of art viewed online. And it might right now be the case that artists are needing to do the fulfillment. That is the packing and the postage, and if it's international shipping, the international paperwork like the shipping invoice and any tax paperwork to hopefully not pay duty on import taxes going into other countries. Sometimes the case, sometimes not the case, depending on the jurisdiction. And so people are really needing to work together. And now the fourth point very much so follows what I have been saying. There we go. And that is that the decision is for both sides to make. And I'm kind of playing it, I'm kind of guessing at this. I'm learning how to use this fun old whiteboard. So the decision is for both parties to make. Whoops, you could barely see it. I can see now. So really, when that artist goes into the gallery, it's not only the artist who, rather the gallery, who is making the decision. Is the gallery the right fit for the artist as well? And that's, again, that really does go into what I was talking about with the power play, with that perspective that you take in to that, into that meeting. And actually, it's something that you really want to think about. You know, what you want to be doing is not making a decision straight away. It might even be that it turns out that you find out a few conversations down the road that actually you have different aims. So I really see a start to relationship. Yes, absolutely. Discovering each other. You've got to somehow find out that each other exists, even have that conversation. And when you do, it takes time to build the relationship. And it would only be in maybe a second or a third meeting that you might go, okay, so what is your aim and what is your aim? What do the two sides want? Is one wanting to make a full-time living? Is one wanting to get publicity? Well, those are two very different aims. If what you are needing is to bring an income, if that doesn't align with your prospective partner, then can you find some medium ground? Or is there not a way that you can meet halfway anyway? What about in this current world? Is there going to be distance between you and, say, gallery? Is that going to be a problem for how you're working? I mean, physical distance. So it really is for both decisions to make. And as I've often said, actually, in different talks and workshops as well, is pay close attention when you start talking about money. Because when you start talking about money, you really do find out a lot about other people. And if somebody is pushing too much, it might be a sign that there are some financial issues as well. Right, now we've got the fifth point, and the fifth point, and this is when I'm going to really just get excited about it. So we're talking about you building a community that in which you share values with the community, and it's a community in which everyone is there helping each other survive and thrive. As I say here, in which you take a journey with others. And at this stage, I'm going to sit down with you and have a little chat, because it's that last point that I really want to elucidate on. So with your community, what we're thinking about here is that you've got, say, for example, the community of people with near where you live. Okay, so that might be a personal community. It could also be a community in which you do have some clients in there too, which is very interesting. And with this, you want to think then more broadly about your, say, your online community and the people who you know maybe on Facebook, where we are at the moment recording. It could be also on Instagram, LinkedIn, your email list. And the thing about your community is it's really important that those people from your community with whom you end up doing really quite intense, close professional partnerships, professional relationships, projects with people, is that these are people who share values with you, who will be able to work in a complementary way to you, to how you work, how you like to do things. And further to that, that you then will be able to help each other through good times and bad times alike. So when I come back to that artist and myself who I was meeting all those years ago, I think did we share values in common? Did we have similar complementary ways of working? And these are some things that back then I didn't think to establish. And it would have been really helpful to have understood, again, what I was saying before about what her own aims were. Perhaps that would have been in a secondary conversation. But what were the focuses of her practice? How did she like to work with clients? What kind of communicator was she? What kind of events did she like to do? How did she engage with people? And it's not to say that you have to be the same as other people, but being able to even be yin and yang so that you can complement each other is going to be vital. So I think that artist coming into that conversation could really, above and beyond anything else, see that as an opportunity for she and I to get into each other's network or community, however you want to call it, that we could start to follow each other's activities, and that perhaps in some time in the future there would be an opportunity to do work together. And that is certainly what I have found over the years, is that when you actually do start to work with other people, you've typically speaking been getting to know them for a little while, or you've been watching them for a little while, and you think, okay, I like the way that this person works. I feel like I can trust the way that this person works. And it just means that you've been able to watch and observe them. So if I go back many, many moons ago and I think about various artists who I did work with in my gallery business, that typically I would be introduced to them by another artist or someone else I knew, either personally or professionally. I would determine if I liked them as a person. I would, even if I didn't realize that's what I was doing at first, and what did I think about their art? And I must confess that being able to get along with people on a personal level, on an emotional, intuitive level, is actually equally important to, say, liking somebody's art. It's really, really true, because if you really love the personality that you're engaging with, it means that you might actually start to even find things that you didn't realize that you loved about their work of art originally, but that actually are really credible and really interesting. And it is true that, say, in the case of this specific relationship that is the artist and the gallery, that it's vital that the gallery does like the works of the artist to be able to successfully sell them. I learned that myself, my second ever gallery job, I was selling sculptures that I did not completely love. I still sold a few, but I would have sold more if I'd really loved them. As in my previous job, which was with a photography gallery, I thought the pieces were fantastic and I was able to sell them like hotcakes. So when it comes to thinking about these relationships just overall, I'm going to ask you now, if you have a specific potential professional partnership in mind, what are three things that you would consider to be really great results of having an initial conversation or an initial even engagement on email with somebody? Might it be that you would like them to follow you back on social media? Would it be that you would want, I don't know, I'm thinking about what else. You might be able to arrange doing a studio visit with the person. Could it be that you get onto each other's email lists as well? It's really important that we also bear in mind that social media and email marketing They both still have important roles to play in terms of communication, of what you're doing, of what your aims are, of helping the world be aware of what it is that you're doing, and they don't replace one another. That's the reason why I keep talking about both email and social media. So it might be that that's an aim. And of course, being able to do a specific project is important. Now, there's something else that I've not mentioned yet, which I will do now, and that is that when you have, say, an initial conversation with somebody, rather than just leaving it and saying, oh, well, that was great and all the best, how about saying, how about we have a check in 6 months' time? Or would you be happy for me to get in touch with you in 6 months to see how you are? Now, I'm saying quite a vague overall suggestion to you right now. That might not be the appropriate thing. It might be much better, say, for you to go, I am planning to do this event. It could be an online event at the moment. I would love to send you an exhibition invite. How about I do that? But think about some way that you give yourself permission with that person. So they've said, yep, great, that you're able to be in touch with them again directly in the future. That is honoring, of course, the fact that sometimes no does mean no. That's really true. But it's not to say that no means a permanent no. And bearing in mind what I was saying when I was reading the article about the introductions as well, it could be that purely by knowing each other as the person comes to know your work, in this instance, that they then think, hey, I know somebody who'd be perfect for that artist. And that does happen. I mean, I have introduced artists to other galleries. That included when I was a gallery. If I wasn't the right gallery for somebody because of the subject matter, whatever it was that the artist did, then if I thought the person was a decent human being who I could trust, that would reflect well on me to make an introduction to another gallery, I would do it. Now, if I didn't think that I could trust the person, I wouldn't make the introduction. And that's about my own professional standing and really wanting to build my own community of people who challenge me to be the person that I have within me and to do the best that I absolutely can. So that's what I'm hoping you will work on actively, and perhaps you're already actively working on that now, is to have that right community for you in your career. Now, everyone, before we wrap up today's session, one thing I want to say is that I am forever amazed by all of the technology lessons that we're getting. So when I first started today's session, I was stating that, oh dear, the background is yet again backwards. But do you know what? It's not backwards. What happens is it looks backwards on Zoom, stream it onto Facebook, and Facebook does seem to flip it around. So if that's of any use to people out there who are using backgrounds like we are, there's a nice little tip for you. So always learning and always up for it. Everyone, thank you very much for joining today's session, the storytelling session. Sometimes it's me telling a story, sometimes I'll have a guest speaker on here with me who will be telling stories from their own careers as well. Be sure to check out the Be Smart About Art community over at patreon.com/Be Smart About Art. And as we say on the background behind me, participate, connect, and grow. It's been a pleasure to see you as ever today, and I look forward to seeing you soon on the Be Smart About Art show. Ciao for now.